Hey all, welcome back to High Country Homesteading. I'm Carly, and today I'm going to be making some low sugar strawberry jam. We're also be going to do some water bath canning these into jars. So I'll show the whole process from start to finish. Now this is my second attempt at making strawberry jam. I had 2 freezer gallon bags full of strawberries from when we picked them in January in Florida. And they were so delicious the first time, and they need to be used up and out of my freezer, taking up space. So it's definitely time to make some jam so that we can enjoy some throughout the entire winter. I made about 7 or 8 half pints last time I made jam from 1 gallon bag of strawberries, and we only have 1 little half pint left. So we've definitely used it and I loved it. But the first time I made the jam, I made the full sugar recipe, and though it was absolutely delicious and my kids enjoyed it as well, it definitely did not need that much sugar. So that's why today I am tweaking the recipe. We're going to go with the low sugar recipe that's also using the low sugar pectin. And I'm going to make a few tweaks to the jam that I wish I had done last time, because my first batch ended up with just a bit, it was a little too chunky for my liking, and it had a lot of foam. And I needed to do a better job this time of scraping the foam off, because I pretty much hardly did it the last time. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I have my canner, my electric canner that I love using, been loving using. It's just not the time in my life right now with 2 little ones to have a stovetop canner, and I know I will learn how to do it one day, but for now I'm really enjoying my electric canner, and that's basically the canning capacity that I have. So basically all I've done so far is put my Dutch oven on about medium heat, and I've put all of my frozen strawberries, this is 2 gallons bags full, into my pot. Now what I'm doing is I'm letting them get nice and soft, because we're going to mash them up, and we need to be able to measure how many cups of strawberry juice and puree we actually have, and then we'll be able to know how many tablespoons of pectin and lemon juice, and then how many cups of sugar that we'll be needing. So one way that you can mash this up is with a potato masher. That's how I did it last time, but I did want a little bit of a smoother texture. So after I do the initial mashing with the potato masher, I'm going to move to the handheld blender or an immersion blender. This definitely will give you a much smoother texture, give you a lot more juice out of the strawberries, and not have as many chunks. I noticed that when I canned my strawberry jam last time and I didn't get it as smooth, all of the larger chunks of strawberry rose to the top of the jar. So basically, if I wanted to get to the nice smooth jam underneath, there'd be like an inch thick layer of foam and larger gobs basically of strawberry at the top that I would basically skim off, and that seems like a waste. So I made it nice and smooth, and now I'm taking my fine mesh strainer and I'm just skimming over the top of the pot of strawberries to get as much foam off as I can. And then when all is said and done, after we add the next ingredients, I'm going to do one more skim of foam with the strainer, and that's going to make for a much smoother strawberry jam, and I'm really happy that I made this step. So now I'm measuring out how many cups of strawberry juice we have. So I have a bowl next to me and a measuring cup, and I'm going to see how many we have so that I can figure out what kind of ratio that we're looking at. So I'm scooping it out into a bowl, and what we ended up having was about 13 and a half cups of strawberry juice. So what I did is I turned that into an even 12, because that gave me a really nice, easy mathematical even equation to go with, and I put the other 1.5 cups of juice away in the fridge, and I will use it later for probably popsicles for the kids, or maybe some strawberry lemonade or something like that. So with my 12 cups of strawberry puree, I put it back on high heat to get it to a boil. And then I add in 6 tablespoons of lemon juice. And I'm going to also add in 12 tablespoons of low sugar pectin. This is basically 3 boxes. So 4 tablespoons is equal to 1 box of pectin. I will link below the kind that I've been using, but I'm just basically using the Sure Gel brand. So I bring that to a really nice boil, and 3 cups of sugar. So it was 1 cup per every 4 cups of juice. So I have 3 cups of sugar, whereas in my last recipe, I think I added upwards of 8 cups of sugar or something like that. And the strawberries are so delicious and sweet, and they were picked at peak time in Florida in January that they really don't need that much sugar. So that's why I'm really happy I went with the low sugar recipe. But now I'm starting up my electric canner. This is the Presto Digital, and I've been enjoying it so much. It's really easy to use. Definitely a learning curve at first to make sure that you do everything in the right order. But I'm going to be pressure canning my jars I'm going to be water bath canning my jars for 10 minutes. So I have this filled up with a little bit of water. I have my jars filled up halfway with water, and I'm putting those in the canner to get heated up because we're going to be putting hot jam into hot jars for water bath canning. So I have that all loaded up. I have, I think, 5 half-pint jars and 3 pint jars because sometimes we go through this pretty quickly. So I learned that I can use a little bit bigger jars if I want to. I'm doing my second skim of the foam with my fine mesh strainer, and this is really making the jam nice and smooth. Really happy that I did this step. And you can tell a big difference when all is said and done that there's no foam on the top of any of the jars. So really happy that I did this step and highly recommend it. I do know there is a technique of adding a tablespoon or so of butter to your jam to help with foaming. I haven't done that. Something about it, dairy and canning, it irks me a little bit and I don't feel good about it. So the easy step of skimming off the foam is not a big deal to me. So now I'm going to funnel the jam into my hot jars. That's why I'm holding them with the pot holder. But we're going to fill this up and have a 1/4 inch of space left at the top of the jar. Next, I'm taking a paper towel with some white vinegar, and I'm going to be cleaning off the rims of all the jars just to make sure that there's no oils and residue on it so that we can get a really nice seal with all of our lids. After wiping all of the jars clean with vinegar, I'm putting new lids on them, and you can reuse your rings and just make sure that you do it very loosely, and then once it gives you resistance, you just do it fingertip tight just a little bit more. But you don't need to put the rings on very, very tight because that could possibly give you a false seal. Each of the jars are now going into the canner, and then once all of them are in, I'm going to be filling this pot with hot water. I have had a kettle heating up with some boiling water, and I'm going to fill the pot with boiling water to at least 1 inch above the tallest jar. Now I'll put the lid on the canner, lock it into place, and then we can let this start canning. Once the water bath process is fully done, I'm going to take each of the jars out and put them onto a towel. It's good to have some kind of towel down so that you're not putting super hot jars onto a really cold, hard surface like a countertop normally is. So I'm putting each of the jars out onto the towel, and then I'm not going to mess with them at all for a while. Typically they say try not to test your seal for at least 12 hours to make sure that the seal has taken. A little test I typically do is I tap my finger on top of each lid once I've taken the rings off, and you can tell if there's any kind of give or it sounds hollow. That means that the seal probably did not take. But if it sounds like there's no give and it sounds like the jar is full, then typically it has. But I also make sure that I lift every single jar by just the lid, and all of these seals worked. I'm super happy with how these turned out. They have a much smaller foam line at the top, and I love how smooth it is. And I know we're going to enjoy this all winter. We mostly use it on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. My kids love using them as a mix-in in their yogurt, and we're going to enjoy it all winter long. So thanks you so much for watching. Subscribe for more cooking content, and I'll see you next time.